Okay, so talking about 2 days here again, Sunday and Monday. Missed recording about Sunday's one. I hope the audio works okay on this because I'm not using my headphones like I usually do. What would I reflect on from those? Well, okay, so a new thing I started doing that was quite interesting was doing Anatta practice, no self practice. Before that, I've been looking mainly in terms of I guess in terms of like experience. So looking at visual, my kind of visual perception of what I'm seeing, or feelings in the body, or thoughts, or whatever, and trying to see them as not self. But I hadn't done the new thing I started doing was looking at the body itself, like considering the body itself. Which before I guess I was almost intentionally trying to not do, like I might be considered like, okay, there's this sensation, or when I look at my hand I see this visual thing, but thinking of them in terms of physical sensations or visual sensations or sounds or whatever, rather than like I guess like a real object thing in the world, which is not looking on that level and just looking at the level of perception. But I started to look on that level. I don't know what that was inspired by. I can't remember. Anyway, and that's pretty cool. Like really considering my body as like this literal physical object, kind of thinking through the different parts of it and stuff, and pardon me, and sort of looking in this way of like, well, okay, there can't be like some selfness sort of in there because it's actually, there's bones and blood vessels and skin and all this other weird connective tissue stuff. And I started actually like going into, I guess, like learning a bit more about the body on a very basic level and looking at images and stuff to kind of try and, shift this perception, like, looking at these, I guess, reasonably gruesome images of like, what it's looks like inside an arm, or like different things like this, and going like, oh yeah, this is actually quite a kind of strange foreign object with all this stuff going on in it that I have no idea about and can't perceive or control. It's not just like this, like me thing that I kind of have this full experience of and just like follows my will or whatever. The thing that I found, like, I guess it seemed easy to kind of disidentify from, or easier from, like, I don't know, thinking about like a bone in my finger and then thinking about how that would look. Oh yeah, I guess this came out of doing the practice where you're like considering the fact that your body will like die and decay, and then that led into this more general thing of learning a bit more about it and sort of thinking of it as this very much as this physical object. Easy. So say if I'm thinking about like a bone in my finger, and I might picture that bone as like a bone that someone might hold in an anatomy class or something, and going like, okay, this hard little white thing, is that me? Doesn't seem like it. Okay, so then maybe it's not when it's inside my hand either. But I felt like where a lot of my self-sense kind of went to as a last refuge was in the idea of like nerves and electricity flowing in nerves. Just like, not something I know a lot about how that works, but have this vague sense of. And I think, my mind kind of went to like, okay, muscle is just some physical thing, and nerves, but like electricity flowing, that feels a bit like, it's not just like matter or something. It's kind of feels like sort of energy flowing through stuff, and like my sense of sort of myself and participating in my body feels a bit like energy-ish. So I think that was kind of what it went to, of like, okay, not like consciously that I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense, electricity is me, but this is kind of the feeling and perception. So then I spent a while just like learning more about how nerves work, and like on a very physical level, like what they're like made out of, and like what it means for electricity to flow in them and stuff. I was talking to the Bing chatbot about this, which is a very interesting conversation. And I wanted to do more with that, I think, actually, because that did start making me go, okay, yeah, how they work isn't even quite how I thought. Like transmission is like also through chemicals between different nerves. And anyway, so that was cool. And then looking at it in that way also helped me to see body sensations as kind of separate from physical body, which was kind of cool and interesting. Rather than just like a perception of physical body, in thinking about how, say, in my leg there's like all these different bones and tendons and blood vessels and nerves and doing all this stuff, but then how my kind of the kind of body sensation that I feel as being sort of like the internal of my leg or something, this kind of vague energy blob thing, and go like, okay, that's so different to like the actual physical stuff of what's going on. So then perceiving that more as like this other sensation kind of like superimposed on in the location of that part of my leg, rather than being like just like a perception of what is physically there or something. So like these kind of two layers or something of like physical body and then body sensations. And then was trying to do some disiddentifying from body sensations as well. At one point I was doing this, I was like at the supermarket and sort of trying to do this, and that was when it sort of most, I most managed to disidentify and most kind of opened up, and it slightly started going into like, oh, there's different physical sensations floating in space, and that feeling where you kind of feel like you're spreading apart a bit or something, and like starting to slightly spread into the rest of the world. Just for like, most intensely for just like a minute or something, and it still wasn't fully, but it was kind of cool. And then I was like trying to hold on to it or something, and kind of fell away.